Going back to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who is with us, there is so much happening. I mean, the hedge of liberty and freedom, the hedge of the republic, it created all this wealth. I mean, Mexico has triple the resources we do, but they're in absolute poverty because their elite uses poverty as a tool of control. North Korea, the same thing. And I just grieve for this nation, but we are so decadent. We know those cycles of people go through adversity, they then stand up against it, they get liberty, then they get plenty and success, and then decadence sets in and rot sets in, and then the takeover happens. But I do see people waking up. I just don't think they've woken up to just how bad it is. Now, we did have a victory against the cap and trade. Obama's approval rating is dropping like a rock. And I mean, do you see anything positive out there turning the corner on this, or are you just so shocked by the fact that there's no longer any habeas corpus that you fear for our future?
Yeah, I fear for the future because we have no legal protections, and the economy will resume its downward spiral in 2010. I think we've just started the economic turmoil, and so it's going to get much worse, and people are unprotected. They've got no savings, they're losing their homes, there's no jobs, there's no health care, and they're not going to get any. And if the dollar itself, at some point the dollar is going to be abandoned as the world reserve currency. And I don't know when, but at some point it's going to happen. And when it does, we won't be able to pay for our imports. And since we're heavily dependent on imports, not just oil and gasoline and energy, but manufactured goods and advanced technology, it's going to cause amazing disruptions, and particularly in food deliveries to grocery stores, they'll become erratic, and so most likely rationing systems will go in. It's a very dismal outlook. It's receiving no attention because Washington thinks, or at least it's telling the people, that we now have a recovery. And it may be a slow recovery, but there's a recovery. So it may be what saves us from a police state, or it may bring it on. You can't tell what the political response to such tremendous economic hardship will be, whether it'll be liberating or whether it'll just bring the police state into being quicker. But that's sort of the outlook, you know. When
well, we talk about it day in and day out. We try to rally the people to wake up and become aware of what's happening. And I guess the best thing we can do, while we're getting Dr. Paul Craig Roberts back, our phone system cut out, the best we can do is just try to warn the people, try to warn the police and military how they're being brainwashed, how they're being incrementally twisted, and hope that, just like in the Soviet Union, after Stalin and Lenin had killed 50 million people, that it stops. Maybe we can stop it before it gets to that point. Because FEMA and Homeland Security, folks, all they talk about is gun owners and veterans and conservatives and how they want to lock your butts up and how it should be illegal. And okay, yes, we've got Dr. Roberts back now. We're going to go ahead and pot him up on air. Okay, continuing, sir. Your phone got cut off there.
Sure
finishing up. Finishing up your point.
Okay, well, the point is that other currencies are in trouble too. For example, the British pound, probably the euro, because it has so many marginal countries that are part of that. They can't take the pressure. You know, you've got Greece and Ireland that are having trouble. So so many other currencies are in trouble that this can sustain the dollar beyond what one might expect. The British pound could run into trouble first, and of course then that would strengthen the dollar. And the euro, as I said, may have trouble because of the weaker countries that are part of that system. And then that would strengthen the dollar. So the dollar could look like it was back being the almighty currency again. But nothing fundamental would have changed in terms of the dollar's own condition. It's still being assaulted by the massive trade deficits and by the massive budget deficits. And as these budget deficits can't be financed except by creating new money, there is at some point the danger of a real hyperinflation. Now, as I said, you can't put a timeline on any of that, but I suspect the worsening economy we will see in this coming year, and depending on which currency gets in trouble first, if it's the British pound and then the euro, then the dollar has a longer run to go before it bites the dust as well. Those things are just unknown.
So this is a derivatives, debt, slave goods from the third world black hole that is inescapable. The question is, what currencies will be pulled completely in first? I mean, I remember a couple months ago and then again a month ago on air, you said, I look for the dollar in the next month or two to go back up because other currencies are in trouble and because there's this carry trade no longer going on in Japan and Europe. It's now coming back into the United States. Maybe you can explain that to people. And then when do you see the dollar beginning to not die but start going back down? Because just 2 months ago they were saying the dollar's dead, we got to get its replacement. Now they're saying, well, the dollar's back up for now. And so what happens? I mean, we have Main Street imploding, the worst Christmas since '79. We have debt exploding. All these other real numbers coming in showing the real economy is in terminal breakdown. Meanwhile, the banks, Bloomberg's reporting in the bank re-regulation plan, got $4 trillion extra in goodies that are hidden in there. So it just appears that they know the whole world economy is going down and that they just plan to be sitting on top of it with paramilitary national security forces over the rubble in the end.
Yes, could be something like that. The dollar has strengthened because of the belief that we have a recovery. And so foreign money is coming in to the stock market. And so this supports the dollar. They change their currency for dollars to buy into the stocks. And this is one of the reasons that the dollar has perked up a bit. And, of course, the banking situation remains, both here and abroad, remains really unknown. And the fact that the Americans had simply exported such a large percentage of what were middle-class jobs that it means we're going to have high levels of unemployment permanently. There's no way, there's no jobs for these people to come back to.
So it's the new term in the lexicon, the jobless recovery.
Well, it's not going to be a recovery.
No, I know, but that's like saying a dead man is alive.
Yeah, right. Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, the media is saying that.
Right. Well, yeah, it's a nonsensical term to have a jobless recovery. Now, the government also can fake the statistics within a certain range. They can't do it tremendously, but within a certain range they can fake the statistics, and one of the ways they produce real economic growth is by understating the inflation. So, if they can make the inflation seem like it's not really inflation, then what is inflation can be called economic growth. So they can do that.
And if unemployment's really at 21%, if they say it's 10,
yeah,
that can cook the numbers. Where really the economy is still declining, they're just cooking the numbers.
That's right. They've changed the way they count the unemployed, and so that about half of them no longer count it. But actually, they do have a second measure they use. It's just never reported, and that second measure does count a lot of the discouraged workers, and I think according to that second measure from the BLS, it measures 16 or 17% unemployment.